Yeah, you came just in time, Mr. Secretary.
Saving us. I'll be quick and get back to the real show, but I'm thrilled to be here and just want to appreciate everybody for their hard work and their commitment in this area. And obviously, one of the joys of my jobs is I get to travel the country and visit young people in elementary schools and middle schools and high schools around the nation. And you have some times where it gives you great hope and a great sense of inspiration. And you have other places where you feel the real challenge of what our kids are facing. And I just can't overstate, and obviously I'm preaching to the choir here, how important it is for more dads to step up and be part of their children's lives. And we have young people literally crying out, asking, some of our toughest high schools. I sit down and talk to these young men and women. They say my lives would be totally different if my father was involved in their life. And so for all of you who are helping to bring dads back into the families, all of you who are making that tangible difference, I want to thank you so much for that. I went to, as Josh said, and Josh is doing a great job leading this effort. I have a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. My daughter had a band concert last night, and it was a great time. I don't know if she's going to go play in an orchestra someday, but she loves playing the clarinet, and we've managed to survive at home this year with her practicing the clarinet. But I had literally 3 or 4 people come up and say, we know how busy you are. It's so nice that you're here. And on one hand, it was really nice to hear that. The second hand, on the other hand, I just think we've sort of had this dumbing down of expectations. Like, this is my child. I'm supposed to be here. I mean, there's nothing more important I can be doing. And for this to be the one band concert for the year, for me to have something else that's more important, that's sort of unfathomable to me. And somehow I think for all of us, we sort of made it, given us as dads a pass somehow. It just didn't quite make sense. So it actually bothered me a little bit. And so I just want to challenge all of you to do everything you can. If we want strong schools, if we want strong communities, we are not going to get there. We are not going to get there until we have a heck of a lot more dads actively involved. And you guys know the stats better than I do. In many of our African American, Latino communities, 50, 60, 70, 80% of young people, their dad's not around. And I think that's way too much of a burden to place on all of our strong moms and grandmas. It's way too much of a burden to place on our great school teachers. Everyone's trying to do their part, but we all have to be in this together. I watched a film, a very tough film called The Interrupters, which some of you may have seen. It's about the horrendous gang violence that we face back home in Chicago. And it's the toughest issue I dealt with. But you had these hardcore guys on there talking and just saying straight up, I know my life would be different if my father would have been in my life. It's amazing, these guys who are so tough, so street smart, been locked up, and just flat out saying, I'd be a different person if my dad was there. And so we have just, again, amazing examples, these champions here that you guys are helping to provide. Redouble your efforts, challenge us to be a good partner. I'll just say personally on our side of the Department of Education, some ways I think we've been helpful, in other areas I think we've been part of the problem, quite frankly. And one of the areas where I think we've been part of the problem is we have underinvested in parental engagement. And great teachers make a huge difference, great principals make a huge difference, but they can't do it by themselves. So in these very tough economic times, we're asking Congress to double, 100% increase our funding for parental engagement, to go from about $135 million to about $280 million. That's And what we want to do is to invest in programs that are making a difference. I don't want to create programs in Washington. That doesn't make any sense. But you show me what you're doing, not the feel-good program, not looks good on a PowerPoint presentation, but you show me what your program is doing to raise student achievement, to increase graduation rates, to reduce dropout rates, and we want to take to scale what is working. And I've visited many of your programs. I've traveled the country, been extraordinarily impressed. My challenge is how do we take to scale? How do we take to scale what is working? And so we want to use our resources, again, not to create things here, but to just help you guys impact more kids. And if we can do this systemically, then I just have the highest of hopes, highest of expectations for our young people. But if we don't do that, and if we continue as fathers to walk away from our responsibilities, it troubles me not just for children, for communities, but for our country. And so the battles here are huge. The stakes are very high. But again, just thanks so much for your collective commitment. Thanks for the difference you have made. Thanks for the difference you're going to make. And please challenge me and my team to be a better partner than ever before as you try and transform the lives of young kids. Thank you so much for having me. Sorry for interrupting the panel. I appreciate it.
Okay, now we've heard from some from national fatherhood champions, and now we're here to honor 5 local fatherhood champions who are doing tremendous work at the local level on fatherhood. And we're excited to have them here. When I call your name, if you could please come up to the stage. We have Stacy Boucher, the co-director for Women in Fatherhood Incorporated, or Wi-Fi. Thank you. We have Bob Johnson, a father who was recently featured in the movie Bully. Bob, if you could join us on the stage. We have Mike Hall, the founder and president of Strong Fathers-Strong Families. Mike, if you could join us. Dr. Michelle Foster, CEO of the Kanawha Institute for Social Research and Action, or KISRA. And my dear friend, Joe Jones, the founder of the Center for Urban Families in Baltimore, a model for fatherhood work around the country. Friends, let's go ahead and get right into it. We want to know not just what you're working on every day, but what inspired you to get into this field and to do the tremendous work that you're doing. Next, we have Mike Hall. Mike has been on an amazing journey from school principal to working with dads and kids after school. Mike, we'd love to know more about you and your organization as well.
Yeah, I am a recovering middle school principal. What we do at Strong Fathers-Strong Families is I've been working in fatherhood since I was a middle school principal, and we were trying to get more parents involved, like Secretary Duncan spoke about, trying to get more folks involved and, of course, more fathers involved. Did our first Dad's Day in 1999, and was sitting there telling dads in the middle school what happens when they're not involved, all the stats. Realizing I had, Bob thinks, no, I'm crying. I had 2 kids at home that I was spending more time raising other people's kids than I was my own. And so I resigned that job, went back to teaching. Some people said that was heroic, but I stopped being a middle school principal, which is akin to stop hitting yourself in the head with a hammer. So
Glad Arnie's not here anymore.
No. If I didn't have the world's greatest job for me, I would definitely be back. My beautiful wife is here. She's a middle school teacher, and she works with those kids every day that have fathers, that don't have fathers, and she understands the work that we're doing. We worked with over 110,000 dads face-to-face in public schools and Head Starts in over 30 states. And it's exactly like Stacy said. They're coming out in droves for a short, fat white kid in a pasture in Texas to be bringing in dads. It's got to be simple. And we have anywhere from 180 to 400 dads a day coming in to visit their child's classroom to observe their child in what I call their natural habitat, and seeing what great things are going on, number one, in American public schools, and number two, to see the abilities their kids have and how that future is different for them. And so we speak to these dads after they visit class about what did you see and why did you see it, and here's why we're teaching kids differently, but also the role of fathers in education. 97 report from the Department of Education said the #1 predictor of student achievement is father involvement. And it lends itself, I'm going to agree with you twice today, Stacy, so mark that down. We see dads all the time. I work in inner city Fort Worth, inner city Dallas. We work in inner city Los Angeles with Head Start programs, and we never have a program where the dads don't show up. It doesn't matter what color it is, doesn't matter what language we're using. You got a redheaded guy speaking Spanish and English. Kind of freaks people out. But when we invite the dads, they show up. At the bottom of our website, strongfathers.com, I just learned that from Carrie Casey, how to do that. But strongfathers.com, at the bottom, I learn every day, brother. There's a young man with his daughter, his kindergarten daughter, and his kindergarten daughter went home and took the flyer that says, bring your dad to school day to her single mom. And her mom said, I'll go. And the daughter, after I met her, understood how she said it. She said, you're not my daddy. And he said, well, fine, call your daddy. Your dad's in Chicago. This is in Irving, Texas. He had never been to Texas. He had met him halfway, or she had been flown up to see him. The kindergarten daughter gets on the phone and says, I have a dad's day at my school. Will you come? And he comes. Wow. And day after day, we see dads coming into schools from 200, 300 miles away. We have a program in Montana called Strong Fathers-Strong Tribes. We had a dad that drove 13 hours from South Dakota to Montana to be at a Head Start, bring your dad to school day. And we told the dads, in a month, we're going to have a dad and kid math night. He said, I'll be back. That's 26 more hours. You know, to play cards with your kids for 2 hours because we know he knows it's important. And so we come from a strength-based perspective of we expect the dads to be there. They never fail us. The kids invite them. So if you really want to know the secret, when your kid colors a flyer and knows that they can invite them, they're going to show up. But you know, we're working on that strength because all the stats we've talked about today, one that we really need to keep talking about as a group of professionals, is 100% of the kids in this country have a father. You know, I mean, if I need to explain that, we will, but I know it's a lot. And we all understand, as many of you do this work, that not every dad is there. But every day we go into a school or Head Start, I mean without fail, people that didn't believe anybody would come will come and tell us, you brought in guys we didn't know existed, because the kids know where they are. And even if that child doesn't bring in their father, they bring in somebody that they want to play that role. And to echo what was said by John and what was said by Rollin, was almost every day that these dads come in and we say, what did you see, and they say, what about these other kids? And they say, I wish we had more dads here. And we tell them, your kid's in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. You're going to be here again next year. So is that child that sits next to your child. So is that child that's in your Cub Scout group. So is that child that needs to be on your baseball team. And we have those fathers on a day-to-day basis. And so we're working like 10 to 12,000 dads a year in the schools locally there in Dallas-Fort Worth, around the state. But we're in Head Starts all over the country, public schools, showing them how simple this is. And we have a curriculum, but it's easy because if you reach out and you allow the kids to reach out to their dads, we're seeing that. And it's a great opportunity for those dads to become the built-in mentors. You know, we love it when pastors come in. We love it when church members come in. We love it when the Rotary and AFIA and everybody comes in to mentor kids. I'm a drum dragging, tuba toting, horn hauling band dad. And my kids were drummers, so I didn't have to go through the clarinet stage like Secretary Duncan. But, you know, our kids almost asked us to not be band boosters because it was so much stress in our life. Because it really wasn't about our kids. We were glad to be there. They were glad to get cash from us. But the kids that I see in the community now that are 15, 20, you know, that had us hand them a sandwich, had my wife and I both and other community members say, how you doing? Why are you hanging out with him? You know, or is that your boyfriend? I can kill him for you if you would like. You know, I mean, I'm a father to, you know, other folks. But that's what we're seeing is this is imperative, but it's also simple. You know, and like I said, we're living proof that this can be done, and we're trying to go around training folks to bring those dads in on a regular basis. And the good part is anybody that's followed the recipe is just working great for them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mike.